we were talking uh, about, you mentioned health there too, and about going and eating different restaurants. And you were talking to me about the periodic table of health elements. And it got me thinking about, what really inspired that? Was that, how does this framework really help people think differently about their lives as far as health?
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that into the equation because, um, practically speaking, when I say discover, people say discover what? And when I say health, they say, well, health what? And so in my work, when I say health improvement and health transformation, health is generally thought of as disease, or the lack thereof disease, and generally tied to access to medical care or access to the health system. But in reality, the health of an individual happens outside of the healthcare system. Actually, the healthcare system in aggregate can only impact one person's health 11%, right? So check this out. $5 trillion of commercial value, 20% of our GDP, and that system only impacts the health of an individual 11%. So the other 89%, that is what is really called health, is your behavior, your environment, your physical circumstances, your genetics, and your biology, right? And so when you unpack what drives those categories, there's about 85 to 86 different drivers, like sleep, like nutrition, like financial stability, alcohol or substance abuse, how close your pharmacy is to you. These are various drivers. And so to give a visual orientation and a framework of these drivers to help with the discovery process of an individual to say, well, where should I focus my attention? We thought the analogy or analogous thinking of leveraging the periodic table of elements, as we all know from chemistry, and that we had plastered on every, elementary, high school, classroom. That made a lot of sense because there are five broad categories: medical access, behavioral, environment, physical environment, physical attributes, biology, and genetics. And so, if we organize them across the color scheme in the columns similar to the periodic table of elements and dropped in the drivers, well, we now have the periodic table of health elements. And so that's the purpose. It's to be able to say, where do I want to start discovering? Do I really want to improve my health? Well, there's 85 different front doors, if you will, right? 85 different levers. If I'm an engineer, right, like music producer, I've got my engineering booth. I've got all these dials. Each one of them do something different. And if I understand the dials, I can make beautiful music from them, right? And so this is the periodic table of health elements for me. I feel like I'm Dr. Dre in my own life. I'm fucking making beautiful music every day because I know how these dials work. I know how to minimize and maximize different snares and bass and harmonies and melodies, etc., such that every day I live my best life. I'm fortunate because I've made a practice out of studying that board and experimenting against the board to understand what is going to bring me my most fruitful day. And so every day I get to make these little tweaks intentionally about the things I care about to maximize my output of living.